Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build. So today we are heading back down to the Ash Heap, and we're going to build a scrappy, cozy little cabin that blends in quite nicely with the environment. Okay, so yeah, we are kind of in between what is likely to be a couple of quite clean-ish builds at the moment. So I thought, while we're in that in-between phase, why not go the other direction and build a scrappy little cabin? So the Ash Heap is one of my favourite places to do this sort of thing, so let's have a look at where we are. And there we go. So we are just down here near Beckley, and this is literally right around the corner from where I built on an existing trailer a couple of weeks ago. I'll link that video around somewhere so you can check it out if you want to. There's a couple of cool spots here, so I'm quite happy to come back. Here is my camp unit, which I've left right there because that is as far over as I could get it. I had hoped to build closer to that boathouse up there, with the little dried up lake behind it. Unfortunately, the placement restrictions mean that was not to be, but this car park works quite nicely as a place to build. So I've got one foundation in already, and I'm going to build a little kind of U-shaped, horseshoe-shaped foundation here that's just tucked right back into this corner. I could go sort of further back and a little bit over to the right, but I kind of want a bit more space on that side. I've got some ideas coming up. And I'm going to start by sticking walls in using just the basic wooden wall set, just to kind of see what I'm working with here. For this side of it, at the ground floor, we're going to stick full size ones in, and we'll go half size over on here. I'm going to mix and match a bit, so we've got different heights and angles and shapes and things, keep things a little interesting and a bit more organic. Drop a couple corner roofs on there. And while I'm here, I'll stick some of the triangles in. There is the inverted one, top fascia. That went in surprisingly conveniently well. The roof set I'm using there, by the way, is from the abandoned mine set, and I'll be changing out a bunch of these walls later, including some abandoned mine ones, but mixing and matching does make for a nice scrappy look. Chucking a staircase in there now. Speaking of changing things up, I will mix that one up later as well. Change it for a log cabin one in the end. But for now, this will do as we get some floors in and the upper story, because, well, we're going to need a bedroom somewhere. As I have said before, I'm not too keen on my houses, shacks, etc. looking too tall. The perspective gets a bit weird sometimes. So I tend to go half walls on the top half, just like this, and then stick roofs on top of those, because it keeps that height down just a little bit. Makes the thing look a little bit more interesting. So I'll flip this last corner around. For the sake of simplicity, we'll drop an angled roof in there in a minute. First, let's get a tall wall in just to meet it. And we'll have a nice kind of tall section here in the centre corner, for want of a better way of putting it. And everything else will kind of slope outwards from that, which should make for an interesting shape. And with it being tucked a little bit over towards the back, it won't be too domineering as well there. So there we go. That is the structure. Now let's make it look a little bit more interesting, I guess. So, jumping on a bit, I've had a run around and changed most of the wall pieces out for different textures and stuff. The goal is to kind of have thinner, lighter stuff at the top and more sturdy pieces at the bottom, because it just looks a little bit more convincing to my eye. But on the whole, it's meant to look ramshackle and like it's built out of whatever we've been able to find. And mixing and matching sure does that. So we've got a bit of continuousness in that bottom right corner, but I'm going to wrap some stuff around it, namely this rough patch planter set, which will conceal that to some extent. So these arrived in the Nuka World on Tour season at the end of last year, start of this year, and they're interesting. They're quite cool for internal kind of protected planting areas, but also to do other interesting stuff, which I'm going to do here. You can see this will snap right through that destroyed pickup truck on the right there. At least it will, as long as I don't use the corner piece. So that's why I'm starting with this section here, because I can't just place it, but I can snap it. So we're starting a little bit further back and running it around the corner. Having a few issues there, because I need to get this one just a little bit further back. Basically, that pole on the corner needs to be just clear of the corner of the house, so it'll wrap around there. And there we go. So now we can swap this one out for a corner piece, which works fine. Of course, I can't rotate it, because for some reason that corner piece won't snap through the pickup, but the single-sided one will, so I don't know. I don't make the rules, but hey, it works. We'll drop this last one on the end here. That I'm actually going to take off later, but for now, that'll do. And we are coming together with a slightly more interesting-looking structure. Pop that roof back on, and we'll just close off the front edge here. I'm going to use this supposedly rusted chain link gate, but there's nothing really chain link about it apart from the set it came in. But this Halloween gate, this graveyard almost gate, and we'll nudge it over to the right here because that roof is now getting in the way a bit excessively. It's okay. Let's close the other half up with some chain link. This half-size one will snap nicely on there. Clipping into the wall a little bit too much there, so pull that off. Nudge this gate over to the right side a little bit further. Apparently that's as far as it's going. And we're still clipping in, but when I put some wallpaper on here, that will conceal that quite nicely because for some reason it extends out. There we go. Nice. Covers it up quite nicely. So heading around the back, let's just dress up this back wall. As you can see, I've used the destroyed wall here because, again, I want to mix up the textures. It's a cool set. The holes are a bit excessive in it, and for my taste. You get a howling gale and wind and rain and everything blowing through your house, and that's not really cool. So, I mean, not that the thing's exactly going to be lacking for drafts looking at this, but still. I feel like this really does need to be kind of sealed up and have bits of wooden signs and stuff nailed over the gaps, because you just would if you were building your house out of something like this. So I'm going to mix and match a few bits there. Still got a few gaps on the sides that need to be plugged up. I'm using Responders plywood signs here that come from the Atomic Shop. These pop up quite regularly. And we're getting a bit of repetition here, but they're about to get covered up, so I don't mind that too much. It's more the back texture, really, that I'm using on the inside than anything else. And there we go. Looks a little bit more convincingly solid. So going round to the front, let's do this one last thing I want to do to kind of finish off this front look. And we're going to drop some Helvetian fences in. I believe these came as part of the Helvetia bundle on the Atomic Shop back around about early springtime and Fashion Act time. They're quite cool fences, these. There's a whole load of different types of them, and they make for an interesting different look. There's actually another set of picket fences in there that I want to get hold of. Not picket fences, paddock fences I think they're called, that I want to get hold of, which I think are in the new events that I haven't picked up yet. For now, I'm going to turn a flamethrower onto this one on the left, because then I'll be able to pull this second one over on the right up nice and close, and sort of create a nice little right angle here. It should look quite tidy. A little bit wonky there, we'll soon fix that. And you see we set those nice and close to each other now that I've destroyed this one on the left. Close that off. Sorted. So, I'm going to head off and decorate this and add a whole bunch more texture, and I will see you in the tour in just a moment. And here we go. Massive scrappy heap of shackness. I do quite like these scrappy builds. I quite like how it blends into the environment. In a way, it kind of doesn't pop as much as it might, but that kind of works well with the off-the-beaten-track kind of lore-friendly type of build, so quite like the look of this. Move my camp unit over to the side there, and it's out of the way. It's also covered by a couple of turrets there. There's 3 turrets on this build. Normally I'd leave them off, but I've got plenty of budget left on this, and largely because it's so small. And this spot does always have enemy spawns on it when you load in, so having turrets is kind of handy. It's going to have a higher than average attack rate, this place. But I do quite like the way it blends into the environment and stuff. It looks pretty cool, I think. We've got loads and loads of bits of texture on the outside, signs and stuff, just to break up the walls and add a little bit of extra depth and three-dimensionality to the whole outer edge of it. A caged deathclaw there. And a couple of punji boards just to keep the natives out of my front yard, which usually means mole miners or mole rats and stuff. All of the essentials just out the front, where they're nice and easy to find and easy to reach there on the left. I mean, there's a few points here where I was thinking about maybe putting crops and plants in just to add that kind of vibe to it, but I don't really need them, and they take up a lot of budget, so I decided to sort of make use of the space in a more practical, or at least for my needs, way anyway. Hence why, as we come into this planter cage area, I've used it as my crafting area. And I do quite like this. It's kind of colourful interior contrasts with the rusted metal of the cage outside and the dark brown walls as well. Loads of extra bits and pieces on there just to break up the textures and the surface as well in here. And I quite like the way it looks overall. All the essentials, loads of junk and stuff that's been dragged back to use in crafting, and it gives the right vibe. We use the oil lamp posts as well, just to give that kind of right orange, homely, warm glow. I have got some electricity in here, but it's kind of intended to be not too overt. So we've got a few solar panels around and a little electric lighting, but it gives that kind of tungsten orange lantern type glow using these cage lights, so quite happy with the look there. Heading on inside, tons of decoration. Decided to go with this sort of red wood wallpaper because it works better with the exposed wood, works well with the exposed wood I should say, and gives a more scrappy vibe but also kind of a clean homely vibe at the same time. It's sort of that middle ground. A few more crafting benches in my kitchen. I had to take the roofs off to get most of this furniture in actually, and then use the flamethrower on most of it again in order to get the roof back on, but it does work. And that creates a nice sort of low-ceilinged, cosy little kitchen area. It's got our brewing stations in as well and a few essentials. So I do quite like that. I'll spin back around. There's my lounge area over there. We'll take a look outside the back first. So I wanted this initially to be kind of enclosed garden type vibe. But again, I decided to move away from the idea of having plants, and it became kind of more of a stashing, dumping ground type place. So we've got random stuff, including my Collectron, and I used the merge glitch along with a rug, basically a doormat, in order to sink this outhouse down to a level where it sits kind of close to the ground and it's not too obnoxiously huge there, and you can climb in and out of it a bit more easily. So, yeah, quite happy with the look there. All the Helvetia pieces. You can see up here where I've got a turret on the back. Getting that piece of floor in that back corner turned out to be a bit of a nightmare. I would do it sooner rather than later in your build order if you can. I had to pull a lot of stuff back out just to get that single floor piece in. If I'd used one of the larger ones, it would have been easy, but it would have been too big then. So, something to bear in mind. There's my little lounge space. I like that I remembered to get the curtains in. Those were a bit awkward to squeeze in, but I managed. Decided to put that green table in there with the idea that it's a bit cluttered now, but if you need to, drag it over for a, well, more of a radio dinner than a TV dinner, but still, the idea's there. Did a little bit of flamethrower merge work to put some weapon racks on the wall behind the display case there. I think I might have picked the wrong choice of weapon on the top there. The fit's not quite perfect, but I do kind of like the vibe. I've actually got a funny feeling that when I logged out and reloaded the world, that moved a little bit, because I'm pretty sure it's not quite where I left it. It does look a little off. Whole bunch of cryptid posters on the wall there. A nice little cryptid corner. It's a bit of dead space to try and squeeze around to get to the staircase here, so I thought to dress it up in an interesting way, seeing as we've got to traverse through. Works quite nicely. As we've got a cryptid theme down there, I thought the bat lantern there was going to be kind of in keeping. Peering out the window there, we can see the trailer that I used in the build a couple of weeks ago, just around the corner there. And we have our bedroom. Kind of compact, lots of plushies, kind of chill place to hang out and read some comics, that sort of thing. For some weird reason, that yellow magazine rack won't actually fill up all the way now. There's a weird bug with it at the moment. I don't know what's going on there, but this is what it is. There's the bed. Loads and loads of plushies stuck around. And I went with this wallpaper set up here that kind of continues the wooden vibe as a different colour. It goes with the wood of the bed quite well. I don't use it very often because I'm not that into the look of it. But on sort of low ceilinged walls, it's not quite so domineering. It looks okay in here. Dead space again at the top of the stairs. I really didn't know what to do with this. It was the last bit that I filled in this. So what I actually went with was displaying a bunch of stuff, including, for the first time, using the backpack flare stand, sort of keychain thing. Just haven't used that because, I mean, it's a bit too short, which is why I put it on the tables there compared to everything else. And yeah, nice to make some use out of it, out of change, and kind of fill up otherwise dead space. I suppose I could have put an ally in there, but on the whole, I do kind of like the way that's come out. So yeah, nice little cozy, kind of scrappy from the outside. Not exactly unscrappy inside, but a bit more homely on the inside vibe to this place. I do wish that display case on the left there hadn't wandered around quite so much, but what can you do? Quite like these floor runner rugs we've got as well now. Those are nice additions that fit in some nice gaps, so definitely a good add. There we go. Hope you folks found this one interesting. Did you like that build? If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I do very, very much appreciate it. Down below, as always, social media links, merch store, and channel memberships as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel that way, I hugely appreciate it. It massively helps out. Huge thanks to everyone who's done that. Do check out all the Starfield content. There's tons of that coming, and tons more on down the line. And join us for live streams, including we will be doing a 12-hour live stream of Starfield on launch day on Friday, so I hope to see you there. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.